Buckle up, America, because things are about to get real. Jamie Dimon, the big cheese at JPMorgan Chase, has issued a warning about a potential economic catastrophe, and he's not whispering it. He's basically grabbed the microphone at a karaoke bar after several tequila shots and screamed it at the top of his lungs. This isn't some random doomsayer on YouTube. This is the guy who steered his bank through the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. He's seen some stuff, and what he's seeing now has him genuinely worried. He's saying that if we don't get our act together, the American economy is headed for a world of hurt. And guess what? He might actually be right. Jamie Dimon isn't just some suit. He's basically the Gordon Ramsay of banking. He's blunt, he's intimidating, and he knows his stuff. He's been the CEO of JPMorgan Chase, one of the biggest banks on the planet, for almost 2 decades. He's seen the economy from the inside out, and right now he's not liking what he sees. He's been sounding the alarm bells for months, warning about the perfect storm brewing in the US economy. So when Dimon speaks, people listen, because they know he doesn't mince words, and they know he's usually right. Dimon's warning is stark. He's saying that America is standing on the edge of an economic cliff, and we're about to take a giant leap forward into a pit of economic despair. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but you get the point. He sees a bunch of threats converging all at once. Think of it like a Michael Bay movie, but instead of giant robots, it's economic indicators. And instead of explosions, it's the collapse of the financial system. The villains in this blockbuster disaster flick. Oh, just your everyday economic nightmares, out-of-control government spending, skyrocketing interest rates, geopolitical turmoil, and a national debt that's bigger than a Kardashian's engagement ring. First up on our economic horror tour, the national debt. This is the financial beast that lurks in the shadows, growing larger and more menacing with each passing day. It's the kind of monster that doesn't just hide under your bed, it looms over the entire nation, casting a long, dark shadow over our economic future. This is the big one, folks. The one that sends shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned economists. It's the kind of problem that doesn't just go away with a good night's sleep. Instead, it festers and grows, feeding on the very fabric of our economy. The one that keeps economists up at night, sweating and muttering about budget deficits. They toss and turn, haunted by the relentless march of numbers that just don't add up. It's a nightmare scenario where the figures on the balance sheet seem to have a life of their own, spiraling out of control. The US government has been spending money like it's going out of style. Picture a lavish party where the host spares no expense. But instead of a one-night affair, this spending spree has been going on for decades. The bills are piling up and there's no end in sight. And not the good kind of spending, like on infrastructure or education. No, we're talking about expenditures that seem to vanish into thin air, leaving behind a trail of broken promises and unmet needs. Our roads crumble, our schools falter, and yet the spending continues unabated. No, we're talking about the kind of spending that makes your eyes glaze over when you try to understand where the money went. It's a labyrinth of financial jargon and obscure allocations that even the experts struggle to decipher. The more you dig, the more confusing it becomes. As a result, the national debt has ballooned to an absolutely ludicrous $35 trillion. That's a number so vast it's almost impossible to comprehend. It's like trying to visualize the distance to the nearest star, mind-boggling and utterly overwhelming. That's trillion with a T, a figure so colossal that it defies imagination. It's a sum that could fund countless social programs, rebuild our infrastructure, and still have money left over. Yet here it stands, a testament to years of fiscal mismanagement. It's such a large number that it's practically meaningless. When numbers get this big, they lose their impact. They become abstract, almost surreal, like trying to grasp the concept of infinity. It's a financial black hole that threatens to swallow us all. It's like trying to comprehend the size of the universe. It's just too big, and the scary part, it's only getting bigger. Every year the debt grows, expanding like the cosmos, with no end in sight. It's a relentless force that seems unstoppable. Every year the government borrows more money to pay for its spending habits. It's a vicious cycle of borrowing and spending with no clear plan to break free. It's like being trapped in a financial hamster wheel, running faster and faster but getting nowhere. It's like using your credit card to pay your minimum payment. Sure, it keeps the creditors at bay for now, but the debt keeps growing and the interest keeps piling up. It's a temporary fix that only delays the inevitable reckoning. Sure, it feels good in the moment, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. The bills will come due, and when they do, the consequences will be dire. It's a ticking time bomb and the clock is running out. Section 5. The Inflation Inferno? Welcome to the fiery depths of economic turmoil where your hard-earned money seems to vanish into thin air. Next up on our economic doom and gloom tour, inflation. It's the silent thief that sneaks into your wallet and takes more than its fair share. Remember when a gallon of milk cost like $2.50? Yeah. Good times. Those days feel like a distant memory now, don't they? Inflation is like that annoying friend who invites themselves over to your house, eats all your food, and then never leaves. It's persistent, unwelcome, and incredibly frustrating. It just keeps hanging around, making everything more expensive. Every trip to the store feels like a new adventure in sticker shock. And it's not just milk that's getting more expensive, it's everything. Gas, groceries, rent, healthcare. The essentials of life are becoming luxuries. You name it, it's going up. From the food on your table to the roof over your head, nothing is spared from the relentless march of rising prices. And it's eating away at our paychecks like a pack of ravenous wolves. Every dollar earned seems to be worth less and less. The government is trying to fight inflation, but it's like trying to put out a fire with a squirt gun. Their efforts, though well-intentioned, often feel inadequate. They're raising interest rates, which is supposed to slow down the economy and bring down prices. The idea is to make borrowing more expensive, thereby reducing spending and cooling off the economy. But it's a delicate balancing act. Too much tightening, and they risk stalling economic growth. Too little, and inflation continues to rage. Too much, and they risk triggering a recession, a downturn that could lead to job losses and even more economic pain. Too little, and inflation could spiral out of control. It's a high-stakes game with no easy answers, and the consequences of getting it wrong are severe. Section 6. Interest rates, a double-edged sword. Speaking of interest rates, let's talk about everyone's favorite economic buzzword. Interest rates are like the volume knob on the economy. The Federal Reserve, which is like the economy's DJ, uses interest rates to try and keep the music playing at just the right level. When the economy is booming, the Fed raises interest rates to cool things down and prevent inflation. When the economy is in the dumps, the Fed lowers interest rates to encourage borrowing and spending. Right now, the Fed is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They need to raise interest rates to fight inflation, but they're worried about causing a recession. It's like trying to defuse a bomb while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. One wrong move and everything blows up. Section 7. Geopolitical Earthquakes. And as if things weren't bad enough already, we've also got a whole bunch of geopolitical turmoil to deal with. The war in Ukraine, tensions with China, climate change, political polarization. It's enough to make you want to crawl under your bed and hide. These geopolitical risks are like a bunch of ticking time bombs just waiting to explode, and when they do, they could wreak havoc on the global economy. We're talking about supply chain disruptions, energy shortages, trade wars, and who knows what else. It's enough to make you want to invest in a bunker and a lifetime supply of canned goods. Section 8. Cracks in the foundation. So we've got all these big picture economic problems, but what do they actually mean for us regular folks? Well, let's just say things aren't looking so rosy. Remember all that money we saved during the pandemic because we were stuck at home, binge watching Netflix and baking sourdough bread? Yeah, that's gone. People are burning through their savings like it's going out of style thanks to inflation and rising prices. And when people run out of savings, they turn to credit cards. And boy, are we ever turning to credit cards. Credit card debt is at an all-time high and delinquencies are on the rise. That's not a good sign, folks. Section 9. The American Dream Under Siege. All of this economic uncertainty is putting a real strain on the American dream. It's getting harder and harder to buy a house, start a business, or even just make ends meet. Small businesses, the backbone of the US economy, are struggling to stay afloat. They're facing higher costs, supply chain disruptions, and a shortage of workers. It's tough out there for a small business owner. And let's not forget about the housing market. Remember when you could buy a house for the price of a cup of coffee? Yeah, me neither. Home prices are still ridiculously high, and now interest rates are going up, making it even harder for people to afford a place to live. Section 10, a path forward. Okay, so I know all of this sounds pretty bleak. The challenges we face are indeed daunting, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problems. But don't despair just yet. Dimon isn't just a harbinger of doom. He also brings a message of hope and a roadmap for recovery. He believes that with the right strategies and a collective effort, we can turn things around. He's also got some ideas about how to fix this mess. These ideas aren't just theoretical, they are grounded in practical steps that we can start implementing right away. First and foremost, he says we need to get our fiscal house in order. This means taking a hard look at our budget and making some tough choices. That means getting government spending under control and reducing the national debt. It's not just about cutting costs, but also about making smarter investments. Easier said than done, I know. The political landscape is fraught with challenges, and there are no easy answers. But it's a necessary step if we want to secure a stable future. But it's got to happen. We need to come together across party lines and make the tough decisions that will benefit us all in the long run. Second, he says we need to invest in our future. This isn't just about spending money, it's about prioritizing the areas that will yield the greatest returns. That means investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation. By doing so, we can create a more resilient and dynamic economy. Basically, all the things that make America great, or at least used to. These investments will pay off in the long run, creating jobs and opportunities for future generations. And finally, he says we need strong leadership, leaders who are not afraid to make the tough calls and who are committed to the greater good. Leaders who are willing to make tough decisions and put the long-term interests of the country ahead of their own short-term political gain. This kind of leadership is rare but essential. Again, easier said than done. But with determination, vision, and a collective effort, we can navigate this complex landscape and forge a path forward that benefits everyone. Section 11. The time for action is now. So there you have it, Jamie Dimon's dire warning. Is it a guarantee of economic catastrophe? No, but it's a wake-up call, a call to action. We can't just sit around and wait for someone else to fix this. We need to demand better from our leaders. We need to be smarter with our money, and we need to start investing in our future. The American dream is on the line. Let's not let it slip away. And in the meantime, maybe stock up on canned goods, just in case.